Hi, I'm Steve at the Carmichael Workshop, and today I'm going to make an enclosure for my Prusa i3 RepRap 3D printer. This 3D printer is a pretty popular, inexpensive kit that I got in a trade a while back, and I put it together and made a few things with it inside the house, and now that I've got it working, I wanted to bring it out here to the shop and make a more permanent enclosure for it. Since it's a kit, all the electronics and wiring are just kind of hanging off it and very unorganized. So my plan is to make an enclosure that's got some plexiglass on it so you can see it working on the inside. I want to mount the electronics underneath it, and I also want to mount the filament reels inside the enclosure with it and hopefully protect everything from dust. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a board for the base so I can establish a footprint. So let's get started. I went ahead and cut 2 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood so that I could kind of set it up and get a feel for whether or not I'm headed in the right direction. I think my plan is going to be to mount the power supply and the main circuit boards upside down underneath this board and mount them in a location so that the screen and the main controls can be mounted up here on the front for easy access. Of course, I'm going to have to disconnect some of the cables and drill some holes in this piece to route them down underneath so they can plug into the circuit board. But before I do all that, I'm going to go ahead and cut the 2 sides. I'm going to use my scroll saw to cut a rectangle out of each side piece for a plexiglass window. I'm just going to use screws to assemble the enclosure in case I need to take it apart or change anything later. Right now I'm attaching the 2 side pieces to the main base board that the printer will sit on. I have some scrap pieces of 1/4 inch plexiglass that I'm going to use for the windows. It has a few minor scratches on it, but I think it'll be fine for this enclosure. So I'm going to use my trim router to route a rabbet on the inside of each window frame, and then I'm going to cut the plexiglass to fit so it'll recess into the window. Alright, I've got the plexiglass cut for the side windows and they fit nicely in the side openings. I'm just going to set these aside for now and I'll figure out how to attach them later so that I can always remove them in case I need access to the 3D printer from the sides. So I've set the 3D printer inside the enclosure and it looks like I need to drill 6 holes for the cabling so that I can run it down below the surface and underneath to the electronics. So I'm going to drill the 6 holes, take this apart, spray it with a couple coats of clear lacquer just to protect the wood, and then put it back together. I'll mount the 3D printer and mount the electronics underneath and then run all the wiring. And then I can start working on the top, the back, and a front door. I also marked places where I can drill some 1/4 inch holes so that I can use zip ties to fasten the 3D printer to the board. I'm going to make a couple of small wooden brackets to hang the power supply underneath, but I'm not quite sure how to mount this Arduino Linguini. It's got some mounting holes on the back of it, but I guess I'll have to come up with something. Eyelet screws and zip ties to the rescue. I made this small box to house the 3D printer smart controller, and I cut openings where the SD card goes and also an on-off switch. And I'm going to mount it under the front here, and it's at an angle so it's easier to see. I still need to cut a board that goes across the bottom of the front that I can mount this to. And while I'm at it, I'm going to cut a big piece of plexiglass to cover the front and a piece of plywood to cover the back. Well, I ended up with a small leftover piece of plexiglass, so I might as well use it and cut a hole in the top for another window. I'm using magnets to hold on the front door. I made these guitar pick shaped clips to hold the windows in. Well, here's the DIY enclosure, and I think it'll do a fine job of keeping the dust off my 3D printer. I really like how everything is self-contained inside this box. I also like the addition of the windows so you can see it run. And I think my favorite thing is I added an on-off switch that turns on the controls, and it also at the same time turns on LED lights inside. How cool is that? And I've got the remote where I can change the color modes and stuff. So I think that'll be really cool to watch it running with the LED lights going. A few things I want to complete on it. I need to add a handle or two on the front panel so I can just pull it off. Right now I'm taking off the top panel and pushing it out. And I also want to try to figure out a way to polish this plexiglass because it was repurposed from another project and it's got some scratches on it. So if any of you out there know how to remove scratches from plexiglass, let me know. As far as I know, the only way is to sand it up through all the grits up to a high grit and polish it and make it clear again, kind of like you would renew your headlight covers. So I plan to do that sometime, but right now it's going to be fine out here in the shop. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos, I'd like to welcome you to my channel, and please subscribe for more fun woodworking projects like this one. Don't forget to follow me over on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and check out my website at thecarmichaelworkshop.com. As always, thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you next time.